Hello, bonjour. My name is Meghan, and on behalf of the Ottawa Art Gallery, I would like to welcome you to our virtual OAG Artist Talk with artist Carol Howard Donati. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that the Ottawa Art Gallery operates on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. In this video series, the 2020 graduates of the University of Ottawa's MFA program returned virtually to speak about their artistic practice, their work, and what they're up to now, following Emergent, their showcase of recent and new works at the OAG earlier this year. In this video, I am pleased to introduce Carol Howard Donati. Carol Howard Donati is an interdisciplinary artist of settler origins living in Ottawa on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. Her practice lies at the intersection of photography, sculpture, installation, and video related to place, combining the human-made with organic forms to disrupt normal ways of seeing and engage uncertainty. Howard Donati has exhibited works locally and internationally since 2011. She holds a master's degree in anthropology from the University of British Columbia and a master's degree in fine arts from the University of Ottawa. Thank you so much for tuning in, and without further ado, I would like to hand the screen over to Carol.
We live in uncertain times. Moving out of confidence and into the unknown challenges our sensibilities and opens pathways for change. My body of work contributes to a critical discussion of place that seeks to acknowledge the limits of our understanding and encourage new awareness of our surroundings. In drawing attention to what lies beyond the familiar, I reflect on the complex, interconnected relations between ourselves, others, and nature, and the hiddenness of spaces close to us that exist beyond what we know. My project has been to investigate my relationship to the natural world through direct contact and response to a local wetland area at Petrie Island along the Ottawa River. I am an interdisciplinary artist of settler origins living in Ottawa on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. My work, based on research and fieldwork in nature, tends to be abstract, non-figural, and related to the self, body, and the environment. As a personal response to larger social and environmental crises, I look beyond idealizations of nature to accept my own complicity in the hybrid history of place. In entering this landscape, I am interested to disrupt my familiar perceptions and be open to seeing what I don't already know as a way of making a different sense of the world and my place in it. I have a background in cultural anthropology and ongoing interests in on-site exploration, repetitive patterns of daily life, and commonly handled materials such as plastic disposables. I combine the natural and synthetic in my work to emphasize our lack of separation from nature and our sharing of a compromised global environment. Physical aspects of my process are important. I have a long-term relationship with Petrie Island, repetitions of walking the same paths, returning through all seasons over many years. I'm grateful that COVID restrictions have not impacted my frequent visits to the wetland. My decision to self-isolate in support of a vulnerable family member has intensified that experience. Thinking through walking is much like thinking through making. Both are central to my creative practice. When I'm not looking for things, I am open to seeing so much more. I seek awareness here and appreciation with humility, rather than information and absolute knowledge. This is my studio, as much as my life within four walls. Spending time outside helps to manage my anxiety. I think of the last 16 months as a time of gathering, a drinking in of what the wetland at Petrie Island offers. Without intention or preconceived plans, I wish to take part rather than impose upon what finds me here. Petrie Island is now a city park with a wetland area on its western end. On the urban outskirts, yet within the city limits, the area is rich in biodiversity. The wetland's unique river ecology is complicated by its settler history, including it being at one time a city garbage dump. Human-made and natural mix in the landscape in a kind of conflicted and hybrid persistence. I am bringing what remains to the wetland. In the gallery space where it was originally shown, its materials and form signified how our products and behaviors obstruct our view of nature. Inserting the weaving into the forest is an active demonstration of the entanglement between myself and the environment. I see human debris as culturally resonant. Though separate from its original purpose and redefined as unseen, disposable materials persist in the landscape, most far past our own lifetimes. Despite their liberation as cast-offs, these materials are not inert. They remain active in referencing the cultural practices of accumulation, discard, and dispersal of their origins. Bringing the artwork to the wetland shrinks the comfort gap of denial between my personal use of such materials and their unusual disposal beyond my sight. I am pushing against the notion of nature as a separate entity by acknowledging and taking part in the random and unknown consequences of things we release from value and attention. I continue to explore in the wetland using photography and video taken with DSLR camera, iPhone, and underwater action camera to enter the landscape from an intimate perspective. The portability of handheld technologies keeps things light and easy. Walking the island paths and beaches, I feel a deeper resonance to my footsteps and a new sense in the textures and movements around me of the unseen actions and undervalued histories layered in the everyday. I hold in my thoughts that beyond my own cultural and human-centric knowing, other ways of being are present, coherent, and unavailable to my understanding. Noticing traces of discarded objects in their displaced context highlights forces of change that are constant here. The wetland is by definition a place in flux and change. I'm drawn to the shifting boundary between water and shore. Part of seeing differently for me has been to notice what had previously not drawn my attention. Seeking a more holistic understanding of the creatures I previously had only appreciated through their empty shells led me to seek freshwater mussels alive and living in the river. The contrast between the commonness of the shells scattered on the shore and the hiddenness of their lived world in the water fascinates me. What we don't know is as much about our lack of attention and interest as it is about the barrier that the river presents to our normal understanding. I now have a habit of walking and looking in the water. Stepping off the land and into the river expands my perceptual experience and sensual encounter with the wetland in significant ways. I have new perspectives. My feet navigate an unseen topography. Looking down, what I see shifts and ripples with movement and reflection. Reaching through the surface to film underwater is an immersion of a different kind. Another step beyond the familiar, breaching the historically over-idealized surface layer of the water to enter the unknown beneath. Discards of human activity are present here, along with organic litter. Depending on conditions, the teeming complexity is obscure and unclear. Through the offset lens of my camera, I know I'm shooting blind. The video pushed by the current is unpredictable, with a dynamic flow of partial, fragmented images. Sometimes shells are mostly out of the frame, out of focus, or the view clouded by sand and materials. The alterity of freshwater mussels astounds me. Their form and movements, their colors and textures, hard surfaces and soft openings. They have a lifespan similar to that of humans, some living many decades. Each species is entwined in intricate networks, balancing connections with host fish and environmental factors. What is invisible to the eye is how plastic reaches them, here in the form of microparticles ingested as they feed. Beyond our noticed, their important role as filter feeders, cleaning and oxygenating their surroundings, is at risk, and their lives are threatened by human impacts and encroachment. In recognizing invisible histories of place and my specific cultural and anthropocentric limitations, I begin to let go of the Western fallacy that we know and fill the world. To see not knowing as an active space rather than an absence or failure encourages me to take in my surroundings differently, with knowledge of my insufficiency. Being open to seeing beyond what I know leaves room for other possibilities, to be humbled and touched by wonder.